Good morning, everyone. My name is Bryce Erwin, and I'm part of the youth ministry at Mosaic. The sunrise service is special to me because it allows us to worship in a different way than we normally get to every Sunday. It lets us sit outside and see darkness fade away as the sun comes up. The Mosaic youth have an active part in this service. We gather for the sunrise service to experience the resurrection of Jesus at the same time of day the Marys first discovered the empty tomb early in the morning. I don't know if any of you guys have experienced an earthquake, but I have not. Since I've never experienced an earthquake, I wanted to know what they feel like, so like any person, I googled it. Earthquakes start with a sudden jolt with shaking afterwards, like turbulence on an airplane. People also say it's like jello. It feels like the earth has lost its solidity and is turning into a liquid. It could also feel like you're on a boat. People say it feels like a swaying motion sometimes. Before an earthquake, people often hear a loud roaring sound like thunder during a thunderstorm. When we get to talking about the different earthquakes, remember these key details. Earthquakes have happened for centuries. Some earthquakes are even in the Bible. But the difference with these earthquakes is that they are caused by God. In the Bible, earthquakes often signal that God is at work in powerful ways, reminding us of God's strength and presence. Earthquakes equal God's transforming power. Here are some earthquakes that are in the Bible. In Acts chapter 16, verse 26, God made an earthquake happen to shake the foundation of the prison that Paul and Silas were in, causing it to open the doors and break the chains. In Exodus chapter 19, verse 18, Mount Sinai shook violently when God descended to give the Ten Commandments, to show that they are important rules to follow. During the crucifixion of Jesus, God made an earthquake to break the barrier between him and us. The earthquake that broke the barrier allowed us to connect to God through Jesus and not stop us from loving him. Our scripture today is from the Gospel of Matthew. I really liked Matthew's account of the resurrection story: a violent earthquake, the bright angel scaring the guards, and the trembling guards. It had lots of imagery that helped me visualize it. It starts with Mary Magdalene and the other Mary going to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body properly. His initial burial was rushed because of the Sabbath, when work was forbidden. They did this because they deeply loved Jesus and thought he deserved a proper burial, not a rushed one. Once they got to the tomb, a great earthquake happened. Some scripture says violent earthquake, an angel comes down from heaven, rolls the stone away, and sits right on it. I just want to stop here for a second to focus on the earthquake. What did it feel like to be the Marys, and an earthquake just happened? Was it loud? Did they stumble? Did it do any damage and crack the ground? I think that the earthquake should be in capital letters. An earthquake is important in this text and shouldn't be something we skip over. Then there were the guards. The guards were just guarding the tomb when suddenly a great, violent earthquake happened. Then they watch an angel come down that looks like lightning. The guards keeping an eye on the tomb were so afraid of the angel that they shook like dead men. An earthquake, a lightning angel coming down, a giant stone was moved. That must have been a lot to take in. I probably would have shook like a dead man too. I can understand their response. The angel told Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to not be afraid, and that Jesus was not in the tomb. They must have been super confused. How was Jesus not in the tomb? There was a giant, heavy boulder blocking the tomb. The angel said that Jesus was raised and told them to go check the empty tomb. After they checked the tomb, the angel told Mary to go tell all of Jesus' disciples that he is risen. On their way to tell the disciples, they were feeling fear and great joy. Having fear and great joy means that the Marys were still in great shock by the news they had received, but they were also immensely happy. They saw Jesus on the way and immediately dropped down, grabbed onto his feet, and worshipped him. I wonder if they touched his feet to make sure that he was real. They did this as a profound act of gratitude and devotion to him. Jesus then told them to not be afraid. He also told them to go tell his brothers to go to Galilee so they can see him. One thing that really stood out to me in the scripture was the earthquake. Earthquakes symbolize God's power. They show God moving in a mighty way. It shows God's influence on the world. A Jesuit priest named Cornelius said that on Friday the earth shook in grief, and on Sunday the earth shook in hope. On Friday, Jesus died. People mourned. There was a sadness and despair. People felt lost and alone now that the teacher and person they loved most was gone. But on Sunday, the earth shook again. But this time, not for sadness, fear, or loss, but for hope, joy, and new life. The great earthquake at the resurrection reminds us that God is shaking up the world to the new way of living. And when we look at Jesus' life, we see that he had already been shaking things up all along. How did Jesus shake things up? Jesus shook things up by including everybody, not just his closest friends and family. He found the people that had no friends and befriended them. He taught people to love just like how he loved others. He washed his disciples' feet, and back then it was not normal for Jesus to do that. Jesus was a leader, but a different kind of leader. He put others before him and didn't want power. He lived with compassion and humility. Jesus welcomed the people that were overlooked. He cared for others by welcoming children and caring for the sick. Jesus showed that everyone belongs and that God's love is for all. The power of the resurrection moves us to shake things up, bringing love, hope, and change, just like Jesus. The same resurrection power lives in us and encourages us to shake things up as well. We can shake things up by hanging out with people. If we see someone alone, we can go over and introduce ourselves. Another way we can shake things up is by stepping in for things that aren't right. If we see something going on in the world that isn't right, we can step in and make a change. There are injustices everywhere we live. We can fight for the injustices we are passionate about. We can use our voice to spread positivity throughout our community or social media. We can practice random acts of kindness every day. Smile at people because we never know what people are going through. We can try and make the world look like heaven, more like heaven every day. Like we tell the kids, we should live and love like Jesus. One way we can shake things up like Jesus is by focusing on relationships. People matter deeply to Jesus, and he consistently placed relationships at the center of his ministry. I love our core value, truly serving our neighbors. This has to focus on with our neighbors and not for our neighbors. It's about being with them, walking alongside them, just as Jesus humbly served others. One way that I practice this core value is the relationship I have made with Princess Candace at the Mission of Yahweh. When I go there, I get to talk to her, and I know her by name. I make it a priority to find her anytime I am there, even if I'm serving in kids' church. I give her a hug and have a conversation. Princess Candace makes it a priority to encourage me and talks about Jesus with me. Everyone that goes to volunteer, she gives them a thank you card with the person's name on the top. Both of us are focusing on relationships and sharing God's love. It's a small act, but it has a great impact. The resurrection wasn't a small, quiet moment. It was great like an earthquake. It had a great impact. It was full of God's power. It changed everything. It's a reminder to us that resurrection power lives in us. We are called to make a great impact and share God's love to a world that needs hope. We are called to shake things up like Jesus, with kindness, love, humility, and hope. How is God calling you to shake things up this week?